Welcome to Experiments in Leadership, practical insights for Caribbean business leaders. Hi, I'm Anthony Subera, and welcome to another episode in our series, Cyber Resilience for Caribbean Leaders. Today's episode is a special one for me because what I'm about to share with you comes from over 20 years in this cybersecurity business. Years spent not just advising clients from the outside, but leading from the inside, from serving in senior and executive positions in a major financial institution to leading cybersecurity companies. And within these opportunities, I would have seen what worked, what failed, but to me, most importantly, through my interactions with many business leaders and honestly, through my own personal experience, the regrets or concerns that we would have had on cybersecurity as it relates to protecting our respective organizations. So, with this reflection and experience, today I'm sharing with you what we call the 10 Commandments of Cybersecurity for Caribbean business leaders. No technical theory, no sales pitch, just some hard leadership truths, some of which were, earned or learned the hard way. All right, so let's start with the first commandment. Cyber risk equals business risk. Cybersecurity is no longer an IT issue. And if you follow our podcast series, we would have repeatedly indicated that it's definitely a business issue. And we would have seen it based on reported incidents, the impact it would have had to many, many organizations and state entities. It's a revenue issue. It's a reputational issue. In some cases, a regulatory issue, and from a government level, I would argue a socio-economic issue. If cyber risk is not being discussed alongside strategic, financial, and operational risks, then it's already unmanaged. If cyber risk is not discussed at the board and executive level, the organization is exposed by default, and this risk is effectively unmanaged. The second commandment, lead from the top. And this is a biggie for me. Cyber culture follows leadership behavior. If executives share their passwords, or in some cases they maintain weak passwords, I would have seen when we conduct what they call policy passwords assessment, and some leaders have password 12345 I've actually seen one that has Jesus 12345. Right? I understand the context of Jesus protecting us, and that's fair. But the reality, these are weak passwords. Whether they click on suspicious links, bypass controls to move faster, pushing cybersecurity as an IT responsibility, and in some cases where one person IT controls the narrative and direction of the organization towards this cyber maturity. And of course, executives being the last to complete the scheduled cybersecurity awareness training. And I've seen this. Staff look at that. They look and see, because what happens is sometimes they issue reminders for people to do the test. And if you have that list where the actual executives or senior management names appear on it, then you are already indicating that this is not important. All right. These present tangible representation to the organization that security is optional and not important towards achieving the business objectives. And as leaders, we all know, we set the tone for our organization. If we take cybersecurity seriously, the organization will follow. If we do not, controls fail silently. Always remember, leadership is not only about approving policies and expenses related to cybersecurity. It involves being the role model for our staff to achieve the required behavior to protect our organization. The third commandment, know what you own and what to protect. Leaders, we cannot protect what we do not understand. Every leader within the organization must know what data would cripple the business if exposed, what systems must never go offline or at least need to maintain a particular high uptime, and what digital dependencies, whether in-house or outsourced, that's required to keep our operations running. In the Caribbean, complexity often hides behind the concept that we are too small a market to be targeted. This is a dangerous blind spot, and all statistics indicate that the Caribbean is constantly being targeted by cyber actors globally and regionally. The fourth commandment: invest based on risk and not fear. Cybersecurity spending is sometimes driven by breaches, headlines, regulatory panic, or audit exceptions. If these are the triggers, from our experience, spending is almost always more expensive. What we have seen is that resilient organizations invest before the incident proportionate to their risk exposure or profile. It's not emotionally driven. Cybersecurity is a risk allocation decision and not an emotional reaction. As Caribbean leaders, we must invest early, proportionately, and strategically. The fifth commandment: prepare for a breach, do not hope against it. As you all know, hope is never a strategy in business, therefore it should not be for cybersecurity. Resilient organizations assume a breach will happen and prepare accordingly, and this materializes towards well-tested incident response plans that are linked to your business continuity plan, executive decision playbooks aligned to your organization's cyber risk profile, and what are the legal and communication alignments that are needed in the event that you attack. You see, in our experience, prepared teams respond calmly. Unprepared teams panic, and panic amplifies business impact, in some cases significantly. The sixth commandment: cybersecurity is a human discipline. Most cyber incidents do not start with elite hackers or brute force attacks. They start with one click, one convincing email, or through one tired employee on a Friday afternoon just before closing hours. You see, cybersecurity is not only about tools, because technology may fail, but people, when trained and empowered, become the strongest control within your organization. Of equal importance, we must also design and implement processes and systems that factors in that humans will always make mistakes. The seventh commandment: govern third parties like yourself. Your organization is only as secure as your weakest vendor. If a third party handles your data, connects to your systems or infrastructure, or represents your brand, then they are one of your organizational resources and as such forms part of your risk exposure. Always remember, outsourcing responsibility does not equal outsourcing accountability. The eighth commandment: compliance is the flow, not the goal. Compliance is the minimum in your cybersecurity journey, but protecting your organization with an effective cybersecurity program is the objective. You see, passing compliance audit does not mean resilience. And with this reality as leaders, we must always ask the question: are we actually resilient where we can recover and continue, or are we merely compliant? The ninth commandment: measure, report, and improve continuously. We all know the adage, what gets measured gets managed. Executives should expect clear cyber risk indicators linked to key performance indicators, trend analysis, not one-off reports, where effective trends are shown, whether we are improving or not. Are we getting a return on our security investment? And of course, these reports must be contextualized in business language, not technical noise or fancy jargon or what I call copy and paste dashboard. It has to align to the business objective. Remember this, cyber maturity is built over time, and that is achieved through visibility and leadership attention driven by business outcome. And the 10th commandment: treat cybersecurity as a trust obligation. In our view, trust is now the currency of modern business. As we move towards digital adoption, services, and by extension, a more digital society, customers and citizens must trust us with their information. Regulators must trust us with our systems. Employees, customers, regulators, and shareholders must trust our business continuity and resilience. As a result, cybersecurity is now a fiduciary responsibility, and quite frankly, a key business discipline in a rapidly changing and digitally advancing world. All right. So there you have it, our 10 commandments for Caribbean leaders based on our many years in business and experience in this cybersecurity domain. As we close off, I want to share something that I think is important that pulls everything together in terms of what we're seeing in the Caribbean. The Caribbean is digitizing fast, and one may argue faster than its cybersecurity maturity. The leaders who build cyber resilience within the organization and by extension their systems and countries would not be the most technical ones. It would be the one that is most intentional and very strategic. Therefore, we must have a shift in mindset, which is cybersecurity does not belong in the IT department. It belongs with executives and in the boardroom where strategy is defined and execution effectiveness is measured and governed, which lands to our first commandment: cybersecurity equals business risk. Thank you so much for spending time with us. We hope what we have shared is in fact insightful towards your cyber resilience journey. And remember, you can access our podcast series on Spotify. You can find us on Facebook, I said Facebook, YouTube, and Amazon Podcasts. Okay? I'm Anthony Sabero. Until next time, keep well. Hi. If this episode brought any value to you, we kindly ask you to share it with others. If you need help on your cyber resilience journey, you can find us on www.stratos-cyber.com. Until we meet again, keep well.